They really on these courthouse steps saying the convicted killer's name like it's a him. Karmelo Anthony. Not the 17-year-old he put a knife in. Austin Metcalf got stabbed in the chest at a Fresco track meet after telling another kid to get out of a tent that didn't belong to him. The jury heard it, convicted him of 35 years, and that was it. Now, the same crowd that turns every case into a morality play wants him freed. They want a new trial and want you to start the story at racism instead of the morning his own ex walked into the school. I'm lining this up the way the day actually happened. Not the chant first because it's loud. The chant first because that's what they want you married to before you hear the official visit. Listen to the name they chose. Say his name. Karmelo is what you heard. So Austin is the one in the ground, and they still won't give him the sentence. Not one sentence at that. That's the liberal reflex in a case like this. The defendant becomes the mascot. The dead kid becomes the obstacle. If this was a white crowd chanting for a white boy who stabbed a black athlete at a meet, they have a documentary commissioned by dinner. I'm telling you, it'd be all over Netflix. They are not confused. They are picking a side after the jury already picked the facts. Now, you don't get to turn a murder verdict into a pep rally and then lecture everybody about justice. Now, I want you to hear the only man in the story who doesn't get to treat it like content.
He was right. We wouldn't even be here today. It would have never came to court.
Well, the judge who now is moving in, a brand new judge, right? And because of that change, the gag order in process was lifted. And so last night, Austin Metcalf's dad had a reaction to Anthony's bid for a new trial.
The hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life. Just losing my son. Alone, just that, alone. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to endure. Tomorrow is a decision if he gets a new trial or not. And we'll go from there. It's not going to change the facts. No matter what judge is presiding, no matter what lawyer is presenting the case, the facts are the facts.
And I want to correct that. That was that had nothing to do with the gag order. The gag order was lifted right after the conviction, but there is more from that dad reportedly today. I want to go back to Paul Morrow and just get your idea about where we are in this case.
Well, the fact that the original judge has been recused is, I just characterize it as not that big a deal. The idea that the original judge who made all of these rulings and then made some post-trial statements would then be sitting to decide whether or not there's a new trial, I think hits most people as probably unfair. Doesn't mean he's going to get a new trial. I would argue that it's a very high bar for him to get a new trial here unless something surfaces that's very, very surprising. The grounds for a new trial here, I would adjudge as fairly weak. The allegation is that somehow or other, Karmelo Anthony was prevented from taking the stand.
So, the father, Jeff Metcalf, keeps saying the facts don't move. Knife at the track meet. Told to leave over and over. Push to the shoulder, blade to the chest. You know, that's the whole movie. Democrat rhetoric after a loss is always the same move. The room was moving, the judge was wrong, the jury was the wrong color, the process needs a sequel. They almost never start with the tent. A father is sitting there telling you his son is still gone, still dead, no matter who gets recused. It's not a talking point, man. It's a man who's already did the hardest day of his life and now has to watch people treat the courthouse like some sort of reset button. Now, this next part is the morning before the meet, before the tent.
All right, so here it is. Wild update. The morning Karmelo Anthony fatally stabbed Austin Metcalf. His ex-girlfriend reported to an assistant principal that the murderer was stalking her after their breakup and was obsessed with fights, guns, and knives. Anthony sent her a picture of the knife. with the text, "I'm low-key on the verge," in quotes, and also messaged, "When I stab somebody, I'm gonna," you can read it here, "lick the blood off the blade." Prosecutor Bill Wersky revealed these chilling details today at Anthony's new trial hearing, evidence the jury never heard. All right, so here.
Okay. Assuming this is true. I don't see the text. You don't have the text. So just assuming. But just also confirming that we didn't see the text ourselves before I say anything. Y'all heard that first. I think under that was before Austin got stabbed. They're saying Karmelo's ex was already in the building, talking to an assistant principal, stalking after the breakup is what I'm hearing. Let me go ahead and size this down for y'all so y'all can see, this caption up here that Linda B podcast also added. So, everything I'm saying isn't just coming out of my But yeah, obsessed with fights, guns, knives. He allegedly sent her a picture of the knife and wrote he was low-key on the verge. Then the other line, when I stab somebody, I'm gonna lick their blood off the blade. I think, the first jury never heard it because both sides made a quiet deal to keep character out and stay on the tent. That's the part they want you to skip here, man. You cannot run around screaming about the trial was unfair while you also needed the phone buried to keep the self-defense story breathing. If a case only works with the text in a drawer, you didn't have a case. You pretty much just had an arrangement. Now, I want you to pay attention to this, who this new trial actually helps.
This is exactly why that particular sector of the black community are the dumbest people in the fucking world. Having a retrial for Karmelo Anthony is the worst thing to happen to this dude because now they're going to expose everything. Y'all should have took that 35 piece and ran with it. 35 years is a light sentence for what he did. But y'all are so fucking radical and stupid. Y'all are gonna open up this trial again and they might give this motherfucker 65 plus years. Cause now they're digging into everything. Now they're looking into why he had the knife anyway. And now it's being exposed that he threatened to stab and stalk his ex-girlfriend. Y'all are stupid at toxic levels. You motherfuckers don't understand the law for shit. If I was in Karmelo's corner, I would tell him to take that 35 to the head because they gave you a break. You are a murderer and they gave you 35 years with the potential to be released at like year 17 and a half. But you radical motherfuckers, you grifting motherfuckers, because you new lawyers, NAACP, Black Panthers, y'all are some fucking idiots as well. Because y'all set this boy up for failure by opening up this case again. Texas don't play that bullshit. They're going to give y'all exactly what the fuck y'all want. Y'all want a new trial? Okay, here's another 35 years.
Reopening this is not a gift to him. 35 already had people calling this off. You drag that phone into a second courtroom and you're not looking at a sympathy tour. You're looking at a kid who told on his own appetite in writing. The people demanding a redo are not asking for more truth. If anything, they're just asking for a different audience. That's a failed mindset. It treats court like a group project you get to restart when a grade comes back ugly. The girl went to the office that morning, according to them. The time step does not care who is chanting outside. Now, this is what a self-defense story has to stand next to his own thumbs.
In one text message, Anthony allegedly fantasized about stabbing someone, writing, "When I stab somebody, I'm gonna lick their blood off the blade." Prosecutors say they also have numerous examples of Anthony's desire to start fights and to be in fights, and they argue that's what he went to the track meet to do that day. The reason none of that came out at trial is that the defense and prosecution had what they're describing as a gentleman's agreement, an off-the-record understanding that neither side would go into character evidence, including allegations of violence and bullying by Austin Metcalf. The defense now argues that Anthony chose not to testify in his own defense because at the last minute of the trial, prosecutors reversed course and told them if Anthony takes the stand, it would violate their agreement and open the door to all of those character issues being brought out. That agreement is a key part of the defense's argument as to why it is that Anthony deserves a new trial. And that's something we're going to continue to hear a lot more about through the rest of today and possibly into tomorrow. Prosecutors have already said that's part of the reason both sides agreed to this deal is because they didn't want to further enrage this public debate that was happening outside, where this was really, they felt, throwing gas onto an already big fire if they brought out a lot of these character attacks. Of course, going forward to the next trial, that agreement would not be in place, and all of this would be fair game. Prosecutors have said they would have brought all of this up if it weren't for that agreement.
I think he probably would have got 60, 70 years if they would have known that there was more of a premeditation. You run around saying your desire to stab people and be violent and start fights and all of the above. Well, you do that, they present that, then the premeditation of what you've done is even more of a greater risk of you getting way more time in prison than previously believed.
Now, self-defense is, I thought I was going to die. That's what self-defense is. It's not, let me text the blade and talk about tasting blood. Does that not sound like rehearsal? Liberal coverage loves the word justice until the evidence makes their mascot look like he was already in the mood. Then it's character and shouldn't have come in and gentleman's agreement. Never heard of that. I'm not saying it never existed. I'm just saying I'm learning. If they get the second trial they beg for, the handshake is gone, out the door. You know, all of it walks in. You ask the court to look again. Look again includes the phone. Now, this is the last clip. You know, one more time, no slogan, man. Just the sentence.
If they want to view it as a win, that's okay. They have every right to view it as a win. I mean, technically, yes, they got the judge recused. Okay. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see if they're still celebrating tomorrow, because if he's granted a new trial, he could get more years. I have no idea what the defense is going to throw up for their reasons for a new trial.
It don't make sense.
To me,
it don't make sense.
Still doesn't matter. It doesn't change the facts. The facts are the facts. We had 35 witnesses last time. We only had to use 21.
You know, this is painful to watch. This really is, because you have black activists that's trying to make a name for themselves, like Ben Crump. You have people like that are out there still trying to manipulate the media and believing that this boy Karmelo Anthony deserves a second chance, a new trial, because there's some racism going on. What? This is 2026, not freaking 1912. Stop it. Just stop it. You all are creating pain, not for this family. You know, the fact that the parents, which is the ones that you all really need to be protesting against, still have not come out publicly to say, you know what? We feel sorry for Jeff losing his son. There's no sympathy there. There's no freaking sympathy there. And that's how black folks are. I'll be honest with you. That's how black folks are. There's no sympathy. Most black folks are very angry. Angry for no reason. Angry at the wrong person. What they really should be angry is the ones that raised them. Oh, stop it. Stop it. We know the truth. If you're a black person, if you're a millennial, right, and a Gen X, right, you know exactly why you dysfunctional right now. It's a generation thing that's passed on. You want to know the truth? The truth is this. That boy parents installed this hatred, anger towards white folks. That is what happened. And because let's be honest, if this was another black kid, they probably would have wrestled a little bit, talked a little bit of garbage, maybe threw some bows a little bit, did a little tussling on the pavement, and that's it. Neither side of the parents would have had no problem. But because this is a white boy, He been taught his entire life, oh, don't let a white man talk down on you. Oh, that's what happened.
I was ready that time. I didn't do a good job of covering my ears. I made it worse, but oh man, it doesn't change the facts. That's the line here. Now he can say that because he's not running for a narrative. You know, he is stuck with a funeral. Talking about the father. New judge. New motion. Same chest wound. The Democrat habit here is to act like procedure is mercy. Mercy for who? You know, Austin doesn't get another morning. The girl who walked into that office doesn't get a report erased because a crowd learned a new chant. Facts are not a vibe you vote on. Hold the order of that day in your head real quick, right? So a girl goes to school and tells an adult a boy will not leave her alone. He is sending pictures of a knife and talking about blood like he's trying the sentence on. You know, hours later, he's in a tent that is not his. 17-year-old is dying on the track. Months later, grown people are on the steps saying the killer's name and skipping the office visit like it was never on the calendar. It's not compassion, y'all. That right there is a filter. You know, they would call it justice because the word still works on camera for whatever reason. They would call it racism because it delays the knife. They would call 35 years cruelty and never say out loud that a lighter sentence is what they already got. Now, if you have to hide a phone to keep a story standing, the story was never standing. That's the point I'm making here. Austin Metcalf does not get a continue screen. You know, the people on those steps still do. So, if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write the name they won't chant. Austin. And I'm going to leave you with Luke 8:17. For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Please be safe. Go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.